Welcome to the show. This is the Dickson County Election 22 podcast. My name is Justin Spurlock, and I write a newspaper article every week for the Dickson Post about local Dickson County history. And I also host a radio show on WDKN every Saturday morning at 7 and 8 a.m. In this podcast series, I hope to bring you some more information about local Dickson County candidates who are running for election in this 2022 campaign season. Today, my guest is Miranda Williams, who is running for County Commission seat in District 6. First off, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming in to talk with me. If you don't mind, if we could start by maybe you telling the audience just a little bit about your background and what sort of led you on the path that you are on today.
It was pretty simple. I grew up in rural Georgia, and I growing like on a place with with dirt roads, and we had big old dirt bombs, and I love my brother and I would throw them at one another, and I loved it. It was great. I get out in the morning, you hear the birds singing, and I love nature, and I loved hunting with my dad. And my dad had wild boar dogs, so he had American bulldogs that he raised, and my mom raised chow chows. And so being raised around that, I just automatically gravitated towards rescuing and rehabilitation and working with animals. In my early 20s, I worked in an animal sanctuary, and I got to work with cougars and lemurs. I really wanted to work with the wolves, but a professor was studying them, and I couldn't do that. So I settled for cougars instead.
Well, cougars are popular around here. Yeah. Home of the Dickson County Cougars. I'll just throw that out there. So that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Taught me to have a lot of nerve. You have to be aware of yourself and what you bring to the table in that case. So, but yeah, that's a very humble beginnings that set me on my path really early in life to love animals a whole lot. So.
What brought you to this area? If you started off somewhere else, you ended up here, what kind of brought you here, and what do you like about this area?
Okay, well, my brother moved here, and I hadn't lived around him since I left home for college, so I wanted to be near him again, and my mom had moved here, so kind of like my family relocated to Dickson County, and so I fell in love with the rural aspect of it. I fell in love with the traditionalism of it. I fell in love with the fact that it's like 3 streets, and 46, 47, Highway 70, and you're going somewhere,
Absolutely. It does have even though we're getting bigger and we're growing around here, it still has very much a very rural feel to this county.
Yes, and I really love to keep it that way. I love the idea of my son growing up in a place and saying, I've worked on that horse farm in the summer. Knowing the farmers down the street from you and having like we have the Burns Market, and Farmers Market. And Dickson has a Farmers Market as well. And that's all local. And we get to do that because of the type of community we have. So the community is a big, big deal to me.
Tell me a little bit about what you do for a living. And I know a little bit about this because we talked before the show. It has to do with animals, as you've already kind of alluded to. You've got a love for animals, which I think is really cool. And a lot of other people, will probably think that's really cool too. But talk a little bit about what you do for a living.
I train and rehabilitate dogs. Specifically, I work with dogs that bite or will bite or could bite, and that they have reactivity issues. And so I go in and I evaluate, and then we determine training steps and make that dog better. So where the owners can get it out and walk with it, or even if they can't walk with it like in Lowe's, they at least have control of it within their home. Because in some of these homes, the people are scared of their dogs in their homes. There's certain elements where a husband or a wife, the dog has decided to center on, and it's very dangerous in the home for that person. And they don't want to euthanize their dog. That's their family member. And so it creates definitely an issue in that regard that I help a lot of people, or I hope I help a lot of people with. Sorry, I got distracted there for a moment.
That's okay. There's a few people outside of the studio, but we're just going to keep just rolling on anyway. Okay. It'll be okay.
Squirrel, dogs, no. And then I also, I'm on the board for the Humane Society, which I love because it allows me to work with the struggling dogs. Those that need a little extra TLC, I'll go and volunteer my time and work with them and get them feeling better. Well,
and so it sounds like you definitely have a love for animals. Where did that come from? Does it go back to the beginning?
It does. My dad served in Vietnam, and he served 2.5 tours, and he struggled with PTSD. And because of that, he struggled with alcoholism and throughout my childhood. And I would hide out in the doghouses. That was my safe place. It was the only place that I ever felt like things were going to be okay. And I think that as I grew up, it was a place that I continued to just hone in on. A lot of people mention words triggering and family trauma and, or what generational trauma, I think is now what they call it. And to consider all that, it's like, well, I let the animals heal me, and I understood them, and they understood me, and that worked out really well. And then before long, it became my wheelhouse, and I'm really good at it. And so I just leaned into that. So, I get a different perspective of life. Because dog spelled backwards, G-O-D.
There you go.
So
that's interesting. So you live in a rural part of the county. Talk about like where exactly you live.
Well, gosh, I did live in a rural part of our county, right? It's changing a lot. I live in District 6, which is a part of downtown Burns. And then the cutoff line is Highway 96 up to Williamson County line and then Hickman County line. So if you go kind of south that way, 46 would be the other. So it's 96 and 46 are the boundary streets or major highways. So in that section, there's a lot of growth happening there. I've had I've had constituents. They're not mine yet. I hope to be, but people who are upset about the development of the houses around there, the smaller lot sizes, the way it's looking, drainage problems that's happening there. So when I moved there, there was farmland, and now I've seen it get split up, which I feel kind of like a hypocrite about because I bought one of those homes that got split up 15 years ago. So it kind of feels like I wanted to move here, but it feels more expansive than what I'm prepared for. I was prepared for a rural town. I want to keep it feeling that way. I don't want it to be like when you go into Murfreesboro and it's honking horns and loud and it smells and it's exhaust pipes and that's intense. That's intense. I don't want to drive through my hometown and feel that level of intensity.
I'm telling you, Murfreesboro's getting big. The last time I was there, I was on Old Fort Parkway, and it took me probably a half an hour to go 2 miles. Yeah. So it's getting pretty congested out there. So I think growth is inevitable, but smart growth, I think, is kind of what everybody's looking for.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the particular office that you're running for. It is Commissioner for District 6, and you've already kind of given out the parameters of sort of where that is. But tell me, what do you like the most about that part of the county? Because you're obviously there.
Oh gosh, I like the streams. If you go to the northern part of our county, we don't have as many streams and undercurrents of waterways because we have on this part of the county we have the Harpeth that comes down in the Duck River. I'm still figuring out the geography of things, but I love like that area, Hickman County, and you go into that. It's waterway. I mean, every time you turn around, there's this beautiful stream coming down some way, and the wildlife. I was working on a horse farm yesterday morning, and a gray heron came and landed on top of the barn, and it's the fact that the animals look at you like you're weird because you don't belong there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so when you have that type of environment, it makes you hear the silence of God a lot easier.
That's a good way of putting it. And I think that the things that you're saying are a lot of the reasons why people love Dickson County, why they love calling this place home. So explain to me real quickly, because you're running for county commissioner. That's a very different job than the mayor or the city council. It's different. Could you maybe just briefly explain kind of what the county commissioner does? And I know we don't want to probably go into real big detail with this, but just an overall for somebody who's maybe planning on voting for you, who's like, she's in my area, but I don't really know what the county commissioner does. Just real briefly.
When I was filling out my ballot, and because you have to have 50 signatures, 25 signatures in order to get on the ballot. I by the way, I was an overexceller and got all 50 signed. So, but I like to say that it's the first level of state government. So if you have a problem with your road or a street or a house or a builder or a developer, these are the people that you call that are supposed to represent your districts. There's 12 districts in Dickson County, and each one has a representative seat in our legislative body of that county level, which is the first level of state government.
Interesting. And so why did you choose to run? What sort of motivated you to run? Was there a particular issue that you wanted to get more involved in? What caused you to want to get into, I guess, politics, as they say?
Well, it's definitely an awkward answer, right? Politics. It's like, okay, I don't want to be a politician. It's like, yeah, why don't you do that job? Especially considering if you lie to an animal, they tend to know very easily if you're lying. And you're in my line of work, you're going to get bit. And aggression isn't always a good thing. We talked about this earlier. An aggressive person can get bit very easily in the dog world. But for me, it was about the sustaining our environment the way that it is and making sure that it is a healthy, happy place for our children and our grandchildren. I have a granddaughter. I live in Burns, where the fuel terminal a couple of years ago, is a big deal. And I think that we need to be carefully, cautiously, wisely planning for the things we need our county to be in the future. Not just based on a development of the moment, but something that we see for a vision. And in order to create that, we need true representation. And what I saw was not that. I didn't feel that that's what I had there. I didn't feel like I could call the person on the phone and say, I have a problem. And I want people to know if they have a problem, I want them to feel like they can call me. It's like my dog training. There's not a person that I've trained their animal. They cannot call me or text me and say, Miranda, I'm having this problem, and I will not try my utmost best to help them. Now, granted, I might not receive the call right away or text back right away. We'll go ahead and be honest about those two things, but we will get on it. But I think that bringing integrity and honesty as much as you can to that's why. I want to show people what this can be, what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It's
a good answer. What? So I sort of asked you why you chose to run, but what qualities about you, or maybe background things that you've been through, what would make you a good county commissioner, in your own opinion?
I think I listen well. I listen attentively. I don't listen with half of my attention and thinking about 1,000 other things. I listen truly. I take to heart what people say. If anything, I probably wear my heart on my sleeve way more than I should. I am committed to seeing things get done. And I'll fight for the people, for the things that they want. I don't mind standing up if I believe that we don't want that, that's what I'm going to bring to the table each and every time. There won't be a change in that.
One of the big things that, from the people that I've talked to, about local politics, because we'll just get to talking about different things, and one of the things that we've talked about is transparency. Mm-hmm. And about how not necessarily that people are hiding, but they're just not kind of out in the open about what's going on. And maybe it's because that generation that's in those political seats maybe doesn't use the internet or social media as much as maybe others, but you're a little closer to my generation than maybe some of the people that are elected now. What are maybe some ways that you might try to, if you were to win this position, maybe try to reach out to your constituents, to other people in the county, to kind of let them know what's going on? Is there anything that you might do differently than what's been done in the past as far as being transparent?
The vision that I have that I haven't been told that I can't do yet, and that's the vision I will uphold until I am told otherwise, is I will be making a Facebook page for myself for the campaign. But I will be continuing that after the fact, because I've never served as a county commissioner. And to me, this is not only me learning what this is for the people of District 6, but it's for the people of District 6 to learn what this is too. If they come to me and they say, Miranda, I don't want this development and planning, and A, B, and C happens, I want to be able to go and say, hey guys, A, B, and C happened. This is where we're at with this. This is what's going on. This is my accountability. This is your accountability. This is the legislative accountability. And we place it properly so we can deal with it as adults, making a community together. And that's where I think the difference is I want that communication to maintain after election is happening. I want to make sure that the county commission meetings are put up there. Not only that, but to walk what it's like to walk. Like you and I were talking earlier, at what point do you lose your integrity? In politics, right? You always, well, maybe we'll find out. I don't know. At what point does somebody call me out on my Facebook and be like, hey, Miranda, and you don't own it, I would hope that I would always have the withstanding to say, yes, I was wrong. I'm going to own that.
And I appreciate that answer, and because that's what a lot of people tell me is, we're tired of having to take the issues to the commissioner instead of the commissioner bringing the issues to the people, or in any other office. But it's just kind of speaking in broad terms of just talking with people about local issues, which is what I do a lot of the times, and I do enjoy, learning more about the county and things like that. Is there anything else that we haven't discussed yet that you want the people to know about you, or any of the philosophies that you have, or any political issues? Because I didn't really want to ask specific, like, what do you think about the schools, or what do you think about the fuel depot? Kind of want to stay away from putting people on the spot, but is there an issue that maybe is closer to your heart that you would like to get out to the people that you do have maybe a strong opinion about? Now would be maybe the time to kind of mention that. Is there anything?
Well, the rural preservation is really close to my heart, obviously. I think that it's important to preserve what we have here, and what it looks like and how it feels. I also feel strongly in environmental protections. I believe that my sister was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 26 because of environmental hazards around us, refineries and whatnot. And I believe that we owe it to our children to give them a good, healthy environment. And that's what's going to help, make the difference in the change, because environmental does, you've got asthma, you've got so many of these health issues that are happening. Having clean water and clean air is going to be, and clean food is going to be essential into feeding our children just as much as an education or anything else, So environment and rural preservation are two key elements. Of course, the government transparency. I believe, if anything, it's just, I'd like for people to come and talk to me. I'll be at the fair, the spring fling this upcoming week with a booth. I just want to talk with people. What do they really want? And if it's not me, that's okay. It doesn't have to be me sitting in that seat, but put somebody in there that's gonna care, that's going to really be passionate and care about what job you're doing. Don't show up and phone it the hell in. Sorry, am I supposed to say? I don't.
Just keep going. It's fine.
Don't phone it in. Do it right. Do it justice. Don't show up with half your heart laying out there somewhere else. Do it right. So yeah, that's it, I guess.
Very good. I appreciate the enthusiasm, because you can tell you're very passionate. For those who maybe, this is an audio podcast, so they can't see, but you're very passionate about the issues here. I can tell that just from interviewing you here. I will ask you one more question, and I kind of might put you on the spot here, and I apologize about that. Do you know, because you said your district kind of covers right there in downtown Burns, right around,
just that little bitty bit,
right around the Lonesome Cabin. Do you know if the Lonesome Cabin is in your district?
No, I don't cover Lonesome Cabin. I think that's not the District 6 would be. Actually, I have a map.
No, the only reason I ask is because I've been working a lot with the Lonesome Cabin people, and it's a very environmentally one of those areas that you want to kind of preserve environmentally.
Right. Lonesome Cabin is not there. This is the Burns, downtown Burns right there that I'm at.
So we just miss it by just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been out there, though?
I have. I actually was there on their opening day.
Yeah.
I went there. I had a picnic, and my son and my nephews and my sister-in-law, we all had a picnic there the day that it was dedicated.
Well, I knew it was pretty close. I couldn't remember where the line is drawn. It's hard to memorize the map in your head, but I love that place. And with you speaking so much on environmental and nature and things like that, I just love that place. And
it's got a great board. They're really Morgan is on that board, and she does a lot with the Burns Farmers Market and things like. As a matter of fact, she owns the Furnace Brewery downtown. Mm-hmm. She's such a great lady, and she. But I think they have really a lot of vision for Burns. I think happening there, and I think in the future they're doing some improvements on it right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of plans in the work. I was talking with Bill, who's kind of spearheading that whole thing a few days ago, and there's a lot of cool things happening. It's one day going to be a nice little nature park, and it already kind of is. But
it is. That stream down there is awesome. If you go down there and just listen to the stream, it's really cool.
It's
my
beautiful.
mom likes to do that. Just set up a chair and listen to the stream.
Well, since you covered part of the Burns area, I just wanted to, since I've been talking about that all week, I just wanted to mention that real quick because...
And look, I knew.
It's beautiful. It is.
Look, I know my boundary lines, guys. That might be like, isn't that the first step? You should know what your district is.
Well, look, I'm impressed. You definitely came with the information. You've got the maps right here, so you know exactly what streets are in your district. So you've done the research. I want to mention that to the people who are maybe wondering, she's got a lot of notes and a lot of information here, and she's been able to answer all of my questions. So...
typically what I do not know, I will go find out. I am not opposed to learning new information or being redirected. We're all here to learn and to live this life to the best of our ability. So, but I actually am taking these today to get blown up for the fair. So if someone comes by the booth, they'll have an idea of where they're at and if they're in my district, If not, then maybe I can help them find out who their commissioner is and they can let them know their concerns. Because I think that's important too, is to have other people own up to their job responsibilities,
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else? Because I've pretty much asked you all of the questions that I want to ask.
I'm worried I might say something like really off the wall or something if we go too long.
No, I think we've done a pretty good job at this point of just kind of the idea of the show is just to kind of let people know a little bit more about you. And, of course, if they want to know any specific questions, they can reach out to you and maybe learn more. This is just an opportunity for them to kind of figure out who you are.
And I do have a website now that's live.
You want to mention that real quick?
Yes, it's electmirandawilliams.com. So it's just www.electmirandawilliams.com, and it has the issues on there. It has a little bit about me, and that's it. Just talking about the issues that are at hand, which is our infrastructure, our government transparency, our rule preservation, things like that.
That's good.
And there's contact information. You can shoot me an email or you can call me. My phone number's on there.
Because, people a lot of times will listen to an interview like this and they'll think, Justin, you should have asked this particular question or this question. And, so it always is good to leave your contact information. That way people can kind of follow up with you a little bit. But I just want to thank you for coming on the show. You're actually the first one that I've interviewed so far. I've got several others that are going to jump on the show.
Practice.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. It's a lot of fun. I love just talking with people and getting a chance just to sit down and ask some questions. And I appreciate you being so open and willing to do this, because I know a lot of people are apprehensive. They're like, what is he going to ask me? What is this going to be like? And honestly, it's just going to ask you some basic questions and just give you a chance to talk to the people a little bit about yourself. So thank you so much. And
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so we'll be putting this on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So feel free to share it with all your friends. And if anybody else is listening that wants to come on the show, including your opponents, I would like to have them on as well. I like to be fair to everybody. So if anybody else wants to come on the show, just give me a shout on Facebook or email at Coach Spurlock at gmail.com is my email, and we can get you on the show. So hopefully we got some information out to the people today. Thank you for stopping by, and good luck with your campaign over the summer. Yeah. And as you navigate yourself through this whole political season, I wish you all the luck in the world, and hopefully I can help get the word out just a little bit for you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.